Let's speak to Sami Al-Arian, who's the director of the Centre for Islam and Global Affairs at Istanbul's Sabahattin Zaim University. Sami, really good to see you. First of all, just taking into account what Priyanka had to say there about Lebanon, about the fact that we're waiting for an Iranian response to the Israeli assassination of a senior Hamas leader on their territory, and then the collapse of, well, the cessation of these ceasefire talks for now. Just how serious is this moment for the Middle East?
It's pretty serious. I mean, the United States have been trying for the past couple of weeks to delay this inevitable retaliatory response from both Iran and Hezbollah. And they've been giving these optimistic assessments from time to time, trying to basically say that the picture is rosy, that there is a deal on the table, that Hamas is the party that has been obstructing it. But the fact of the matter is that Hamas has responded positively to Biden's proposal back at the end of May. Then they came back after Netanyahu rejected it with some modifications. Hamas again reiterated and accepted these modifications at the urge of the mediators, Egypt, Qatar, and the United States back on July the 2nd. And yet Netanyahu rejected it again. And now the United States is embracing Netanyahu's conditions. He keeps adding conditions to these talks. And Hamas said, we're not playing anymore. This is unacceptable. We've agreed twice to these proposals, American proposals, that they were portrayed as being Israeli proposals, and that we're not about to renegotiate this. If you renegotiate anything, is the implementation of these plans. So we're at an impasse. The United States, this flurry of diplomatic activities have been trying to either stop or delay these responses from Tehran and Hezbollah. And I think we're at the end of the road. Now the ball is in the court, really, of the so-called axis of resistance. If they do not respond to these provocations, to these assassinations of Haniya and Shukr, then they would lose all credibility. And I think the United States is in a bind, because on one hand, they don't want any conflict to spread, particularly right before the elections. And at the same time, they want Israel to win, to prevail in this conflict. And these are very difficult when you have a prime minister, an indicted war criminal, and the prime minister of Israel, and trying to dictate the terms of any future or any deal in which it would preserve him as prime minister, it will fulfill his objectives, and at the same time get Trump to win. They can't square the circle.
So when Iran's response comes, what do you think that will be, given they have to calibrate it carefully so it shows a message and they don't lose face, but also so they don't inflame it further and kick off a wider war?
You're exactly right. These are the two conditions where also at face value are contradictory. You want a fierce response, a strong response that can restore deterrence. And at the same time, we don't want to widen this war. That means Israel would have to absorb it. And of course, Netanyahu would not absorb it. And that's the problem that Iran is in. So I think on one hand, there has been a lot of talk that this strike may be delayed for technical reasons. One target could be a high official that they can target, in which case it would be very difficult to respond. So, time will tell, how they're going to proceed. But they have vowed that there will be a response, will be a strong response. How that response will be carried out without furthering future response from the Israelis and widening this war is a problem.
What about a shift? So that's Iran. What about a shift in position from Israel? Is there any hope at all, potentially, that Benjamin Netanyahu's government could collapse with these ultra-Orthodox protests continuing in his country against military conscription?
And I think that's wishful thinking on many people. Netanyahu's government is pretty stable. He is right with his hardliners, with these fascists that are controlling his government. He's not changing any kind of policy. He is basically manipulating the United States and the administration and the elections. He's manipulating the United Nations, which has become totally toothless and irrelevant in this conflict. He has defied the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court, and he basically doesn't care about anything else. I mean, the long-term ramifications of this are going to be devastating, but meanwhile, he is on the top. He thinks he controls everything. He is in control of the domestic scene. I mean, even the demonstrations have withered away. So it doesn't seem that he is under any pressure, and he is trying to fulfill his promise, his goals of defeating Hamas, of dislodging it from Gaza. And I think behind the scenes, he's trying to make Gaza unlivable so that the Palestinians would either leave on their own or just be in total despair. At the same time, he's trying to re-elect Trump. All these things, all indicators said that so far he's been successful. The only wild card right now that could deter his plans would be a very strong response from the axis of resistance, either from Hezbollah, Iran, Ansarullah, or all combined.
Really appreciate your thoughts, Sami. Thank you so much. Sami Al-Arian, there, Director of the Centre for Islam and Global Affairs at Istanbul's Sabahattin Zaim University.